Time keeps on marching at a steady pace towards the cold and scary unknown, leaving behind all the pleasures that we once relied on, while mercilessly snuffing the life out of all those who struggle to hold on and overcome the cruel mutual existence that slowly drains us of all motivation and purpose, whittling away at us until we're just an insignificant husk of what we once were, never achieving the goals we desired, regretting all of our past mistakes, our senses deprived, all except for the searing agony caused by the circumstances we could have never foreseen or prevented, while time keeps on marching. I play some really cool fucking video games though. I hate Metroidvanias, at least the new ones. Can't help but feel despair as I start up an indie platformer just to open up the map screen and see a sea of item percentages next to big open areas of empty hallways and dead ends with nothing to do but to hop on a bunch of platforms for 20 hours. Sometimes it's even longer and people think it's a selling point worth praising for some reason. I really fucking hate Hollow Knight. At first I was skeptical about Dread being any different, but I powered on through and started falling in love with it as I hopped from region to region, eager to see what's next. I couldn't get enough of how satisfying the combat felt, with every new enemy encounter presenting a cruel but fair challenge. It also does a good job at signposting you to the next location without it ripping control from you and screaming in your face about it. Video SOS will tear this game apart for being too linear and not focused enough on exploration, but I'm really happy with this more streamlined direction Metroid has taken. It's not like it's a complete reinvention of the game that takes previous core mechanics and makes them stiff and clunky to do even the most basic platforming and shooting. I really fucking hate Metroid Prime. There's not enough gameplay footage in the world I can show off to emphasize just how smooth this game feels to play. Samus's movement feels like it's been tweaked just right. You take the tight weight and speed of Zero Mission while fusing it with versatile moveset in Samus Returns, and you get the most responsive controls in any platformer currently out there. It running at a constant 60 FPS also really helps. The one thing that I'm really disappointed with is how the music is the audible manifestation of ambient. It's one of those instantly forgettable invisible soundtracks right next to RE2 Make. And while I'm here, you should check out Luminous's cover of the NES Metroid using analog synths. It has such a rich, textured sound that's indescribably creepy and melancholic, and I get goosebumps every time I listen to it. No More Heroes 3 really wasn't what I wanted, and that's a good thing. And I made that in a genuine, refreshing way, not a most subversive expectations, Ludo faux Twitter critic way. I fucking adore the writing in this game above all. Travis is back along with most of the cast, and everyone still talks like they're in a video game, but you can tell they've matured a bit since the last game. Travis and Sylvia have an odd and slightly distant relationship now. It feels like their kids are brought up in every fucking minute they're on screen together, but nothing ever comes of it. Like, I'm serious, you get to learn more about them in Travis Strikes Again than in 3. It also does a good job by introducing villains and what they're all about, while also giving them depth in separate scenes and that trademark, anecdotal, casual conversation sprinkled with light introspection that Tsuda is well known for. Hell, even all the fourth wall breaking stuff I usually have zero tolerance for is pulled off in a neat way. You get to have these segments of Travis and Bishop shooting the shit and giving out good movie recommendations between each chapter. Visually, it's kind of a mess. I'm talking more aesthetically, the graphics are a separate issue on their own. The mixed media aesthetic is back, but it tends to seesaw between two extremes too much for it to be consistent. One moment it's coded in a retro game aesthetic, another minute it's heavy cell shading, then you go to the open world to talk to people and there's like this weird Twitch livestream UI. There's just not enough consistency there to make it work. Rankings also go for the same approach, but I think it works a lot better since everything's more contained and flips over the design of the game in a handful of times in really cool ways. On the same note though, I want to praise the combat and just how big of the leap is in quality since 2. Enemy AI is a lot smarter and reactive. They also have unique gimmicks that keep you on your toes the entire time. Later on, you get tossed into arenas where you have to juggle 3 or more enemy types at once, both on and off screen, and it gets really fucking intense. It feels like a natural combination of all of Grasshopper's previous action games without even affecting the narrative in some aspects. And I guess I'm sorry for spoiling, but why the fuck is this the version of Kamui we got? outside of being able to pull some goth tale, he doesn't remotely resemble him. I'm sure there's some thorough lore dump explanation in the silver case RGBBW 345 Days Over 2 Indonesian drama CD released for Nokia phones, but like, Suda had to fucking know that he was illustrating such a mythical figure that caused ripples throughout KDP's story as a fucking quirky Shota looking ass that talks like a meek anime character. Like, what the fuck? And if you're really bothered by the graphics and performance issues, well, there's a really funny way to fix that. With No More Heroes 3 being made on Unreal Engine 4 and Switch animating and emulation being as versatile as it is, not even a week after release, you got a patch from some guy, I look up his name. All I did was go into the game's config file and change the settings from low to high, so now you can enjoy No More Heroes 3 with improved textures, effects, lighting, render distance, and frame rate on your emulator of choice. You're welcome.
I looked at my penis, I think
danger, negative penalty.
And I go, penis, more like
This is the first time in a long while where I've actually hopped on a fighting game while it's still brand new and active, and while Guilty Gear Strive suffers from a lot of the same issues with balancing, netcode, slow content roll, and probably the worst lobby format I've seen for a game, I haven't been able to drop this game as I catch myself playing it almost every week since I bought it. More so than Third Strike, like bro, can you fucking believe that? I'm far from knowledge about fighting genre terminology to give you a deep anal sis about what makes this game so good. Luckily, its appeal is very easy to see from the surface, even past several layers. I know I'm the 37th guy you've heard praising the soundtrack this week, but like, motherfucker, how can you not like it? Much like the roster, every track has a unique style that manages to spoof other famous rock bands and subgenres. And of course, your boy's fave pick is the Radiohead and Avenged Sevenfold mashup for Faust theme. It's just, it's what led me to main him in the first place and stick with him despite his dog shit damage. They all have this synergy that's able to fit each character perfectly. Like how the blandest generic anime metal song belongs to the blandest generic anime boy. How the fuck is this the most listened to song? Looking past the shiny visuals, the details put into both particle and animation effects is what truly sells the weight for each character and their impacts. Whereas a standard slower fighter would try and sell it with over-the-top gore and x-ray moves, Strive goes for a sleeker and more immediate feedback loop with colorful effects following your every hit, squatch and stretch animation exaggerating your movements, and impact freeze frames that give a heavy sensation with every hit that connects. It's all very basic bitch stuff to pick up on, but no other fighting game implements all of these techniques at once like Strive does. Other than Third Strike, like, I could sit here and talk about Third Strike for hours, but I'm practicing some self-restraint, so you should be thankful, you slut. Also, try it out, Plus R, and it's really good, but there's like a gajillion billion videos explaining how and why already, and probably a few people on my Discord. Have you checked out the KGP Discord? You should join the KGP Discord, the link's below. While I was traveling around the east coast of the US during the summer, I couldn't pass up burning money on my hobby centered around children's toy, like the good little purposeless man-child that I am. I found some good stuff, some bad stuff, and some fucking Kino. More than anything, it reignited my interest in the PS1, and with soft modding and plain burn discs being easier than ever before, I made an effort into playing as many weird and obscure games buried deep in my backlog. Dude, I got super into Beatmania this year. No, not that one. The music and visuals in IDX are obnoxious and only appeals to greasy otakus.
Fucking love to do. Oh! Yeah,
I got really into OG 5-key Beatmania. Game that started it all. It spun off into DDR, so when you think about it, it's actually Friday Night Funkin' Zero, which you can also play on a PS1. I really don't know how to feel about this. It's one of those games with such a corny, dated soundtrack that I'm just captivated by due to all the weird approaches to mixing and use of samples. They got everything from Jap rap to aerogay style bossa novas, and even some soul, funk, and style garage. They released like 15 of these games as like bonus disc physical DLCs with their own variety of tracks, and some even focused on specific genres. If you're looking for another simple addictive rhythm game or just want to listen to some obscure club music to add to your list of songs to plagiarize on your SoundCloud, then defo check out the Beatmania PS1 collection. Or you could check out the Game Boy port.
it's 1995.
Mediavision just finished working on their debut and launch title, Crime Crackers, a decent dungeon crawler with a classic anime aesthetic that I can't read, so I dropped it immediately. And so, for the next title, they asked themselves, what if Gunstar Heroes No, that's it. Rapid Reload borders on plagiarism, but it's a great thing that the homework they copied is a spot-on rail shooter side-scroller. Gorgeous pixel art, cool boss designs, and a difficulty that will kick your teeth in, but it'll still make you come back for more. All you kids talking about your overpriced PS5s and coping about it not having any games by talking about how cool ray tracing is, without ever knowing that we actually had this shit all the way back on the PS1. Yeah. You're a group of car niggas, and your objective is to ram into every car on the road as fast as possible. Why? I don't know, I can't read Japanese. The sense of speed feels visceral and the handling feels tighter than ever. Crashing into cars is addictive, and watching your car ram into a tank at the speed of light until it fucking blows up is fucking hilarious, needless to say. It also has an inexplicably comfy and elegant nighttime stage that all these racers excelled at during this generation. And also, there's a cat. Yeah. Lastly, we got Baroque niggas. It's very much a hardcore dungeon crawl that doesn't hold your hand, making it real difficult for someone that can't read Japanese. But I pushed on regardless as I fell deeper and deeper into the ambient abyss. Now, I'm sure the remake did a lot to improve the game with better fidelity and quality of life features, but man, the atmosphere in the Saturn PS1 version is second to none. The lo-fi visuals and transparent billboard characters are just elegantly unsettling, almost giving me Crypt World vibes at times. Except everything is coated in a thick layer of rust that could give you tetanus just by looking at it. There's currently a Spanish translation patch out there, and I personally can't wait to dive deeper into the Baroque niggas experience. This year, I got the chance to play two massive, critically acclaimed RPGs. I started off with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It was a draining experience as I watched narrative drop the ball time and time again, relying on nothing but corny shonen tropes to build its main cast, save for a few outliers. I felt my sanity slipped as I traveled through admittedly impressively sized landscapes with absolutely nothing to do in them except for grinding and fetch questing for 80 fucking hours. Then I would honestly recommend the concerning amount of NTR porn this game has, as it would be much more preferable than subjecting yourself to this bloated pile of shit. Unless you thrive off of very generic anime media, in that case you'll get a kick out of both. It left such a bad taste in my mouth that it almost drove me to completely swearing off modern JRPGs. Then I played Dragon Quest XI. For years, I've heard a lot of people refer to these games as comfort food RPGs, and I can definitely see why. Dragon Quest is as generic and traditional as it gets, but it has so much fun and confidence in what it does and how it approaches it with every new entry that you can't help but smile and follow along for the ride. The comfy villages always riffing on other nationalities in a borderline racist manner, the gorgeous orchestral music with the fattest swells and smoothest of sweeps, or maybe you just want some comfy as fuck, straight and simple, turn-based RPG grinding. It also helps that this is like one of the rare times we see Toriyama's art style and characters with this level of fidelity. We've definitely come a long way since Tobal FMVs. Doesn't matter if you're a hardened JRPG vet that's learned Japanese for the sole purpose of playing PC-88 dungeon crawler porn games, or one of those weirdos that wants every game to play like Kingdom Hearts 2. There's something for everyone here that's bound to hook you into an unforgettable experience. For me, it was Jade. Yes, I did marry her, and I reminded my childhood friend about it every chance I got, as she held back her femcel tears. If I really had to critique anything about the game, it would be mostly relegated to how the post-game does some plot fuckery that retroactively muddles a lot of the emotional impact of the main story, and also how the definitive port waters down the visuals considerably, and the original is now delisted because Square Enix never makes good decisions when it comes to tech. The fact that I'm having to grasp for straws this far outside of the game speaks for just how much I really enjoyed my time with Dairy Queen 11.
Hey, it's your good friend Blue Rhapsody here. Up until last year, I wasn't able to truly understand what respecting women meant until I played a game called Sengoku Rance. Since before the fall of the USSR, the titular character Rance has been a role model for all men on how to respect and value women. Sengoku Rance is an eroge turn-based strategy game with the porn being the worst aspect of it. What people fail to see is that these games feature compelling writing, gameplay, a heroic lead, and side characters with personalities of all types. This game will make you laugh, cry, and come in anger. The plot of the game involves Rance journeying to a mystical place called Japan on a whim to fuck the various women of the land. When he arrives, Rance finds himself in the middle of a civil war of the Oda clan. Soon after, he meets Nobunaga, the lazy leader of the clan, and helps him quell the rebellion. Afterward, Nobunaga grants Rance the title of Shadow Ruler and lets him secretly be in charge of the clan's affairs. The gameplay, for a lack of a better term, is very fleshed out for an eroge game and requires meticulous planning. There are only 3 resources to manage, and each one is important. Those resources are gold, troops, and national power. Each one affects another, so it's important to keep those always in the green. If the player's national power is lower than the required amount, they'll lose the gold they'll normally get at the beginning of a turn, which isn't very ideal given that you're trying to run a city-state with a standing army. Speaking about troops, they'll be the most draining thing on the player's resources, but they serve more of a purpose than just attack and defense. Troops are used whenever manpower is needed for an action, like building walls, sabotage, or increasing the national power. All troops have different classes and stats that make them useful for specific tasks. When used, the troop becomes unavailable to be used again for anything until the next turn. This means that the player uses all their troops for whatever reason and then gets attacked, they'll have no one to defend with, and will have to concede the territory over. Within each turn, the player can initially only do 2 actions. These actions are some of the things I said earlier and more. And just to briefly talk about it, battling is a 6v6 type of deal, and the win is decided by who has the most advantage, gained by defeating enemy troops. When a troop is defeated, enemy or player, they have a chance to be captured or killed. It can sometimes be a slog, but it's usually pretty fun with a lot of freedom given to the player and how they want to act. I had a blast trying to effectively use my actions and troops every turn, making a lot of hard decisions in the process. An autosave is done after every turn, so it makes an excellent pause and play style of game. The writing also makes it feel worth it to get to the comedic sections that the Rance series is known for. At first, Sengoku Rance is very brutal and confusing, but it's by design. Unlike many turn-based strategy games, Sengoku Rance is meant to be played at least twice to fully beat the game. The probability of beating the game on the player's first run is almost impossible. The first run is like an extended tutorial that does an excellent job of teaching the player what to expect without unveiling anything. The real goal of the first playthrough is to accumulate as many points as possible by the end. These points carry over to the second playthrough, where the player can use them at the beginning of the game to buy bonuses permanently affecting the second playthrough. I don't want to spoil anything more, so just play it yourself. For essentially just being a porn game, Sengoku Rance and the rest of the Rance series have a ridiculous amount of effort put into them. I haven't even mentioned the OST for the game, which might be one of its best aspects. Made by Shade, the OST for Sengoku Rance is fucking awesome. It all feels so goddamn good to listen to, and it fits the Rance style perfectly. My top 3 tracks are Ontology, Mars, and Advance On version 2. Seriously though, do give this game a shot. It's free and easily found on Manga Gamer. Thanks.
Great step in the right direction, though the busted up controls makes it harder to choose over the originals. I got hyped for the underage goth girl with DSLs, but I got sidetracked and never finished it. I put 200 hours in this game and I feel underwhelmed. This is racing game pornography without it being up its own ass like Gran Turismo. Really bright and colorful racer with surprisingly tight handling. Definitely an overlooked Model 2 racer. If this image makes you uncomfortable, then dude, you're gonna have a great time with Ocean Hunter. I returned to form for House of the Dead. Having insane hordes and zombies to shoot at makes it more intense and fun than precise aiming bullshit the other games had. I can't believe Persona, out of all games, has the best Musou game in the entire franchise. Linear dungeons and SMT style combat makes this game a hell of a lot more interesting than just being a hack and slash. Great Yakuza game, absolutely dog shit JRPG. The story carried most of it by the end. Dear C. I got dogpiled on Twitter for saying RE7 was better, so now I hold a genuine grudge against this game. I've jerked off the Panzer Dragoon games for being one of the best games in their respective genres of 3D rail shooters, as well as the best titles on the console that were released on. And to no one's fucking surprise, Panzer Dragoon RPG isn't an exception either. What did come as a surprise to me was just how this game manages to stand out from its contemporaries as well as JRPGs from recent times. For one, it's fully rendered in 3D in a time where most devs cheated with pre-rendered JPEGs and cardboard cutouts for sprites. While no doubt being an ambitious and costly decision, it ultimately works in its favor significantly. Environments are easier to immerse yourself in as they fully surround you. Towns are small, but they're impeccably detailed with their compact and winding layouts, and shops cluttered with ancient and junk they've scrapped from their experiences as nomads. Not to mention the best fucking use of color I've ever seen in a game, period. Some shots in this game are downright gorgeous with all the shades of purple and orange that blend immaculately as you have a full day-night cycle for every place you visit. The cast of characters and the overarching narrative is comparably minuscule to other RPGs, but the small amount of screen time they're given is always meaningful as it works to flesh out a character or highlight their charm with surprisingly quality voice acting, especially for 5th gen. The glimpse you get into this world is microscopic, but it's full of so much detail that it feels like a living world you could just transport yourself into. The combat also translates seamlessly into a turn-based, more so due to how every enemy is treated like a puzzle box as you have to move around and trigger a reaction to reveal their weakness, rather than abusing sheer strength or status effects. Panzer Dragoon Saga, from top to bottom, is designed to be a near-perfect, compact quality product. Rather than focusing on a grand scope and an 80-hour runtime, it focuses on the core aspects of a JRPG and refines the ever-loving fuck out of them. No filler dungeons, no fetch quests, no plot detours. In many ways, it goes against every RPG convention to create an absolute definitive pinnacle of the genre. Done in a bold and honest manner, never resorting to looking at the camera and winking at the player, except for the time it literally does that at the end. Overall, last year was a pretty good year for video games. What? I'm not gonna write up a column about how grateful I am to close out the video. Like, I don't even care anymore. Don't even fucking ask me when the next video is out either.